And on Nine's Wide World of Sports, we welcome you back once again to the Logan City Lanes in southeast Queensland for the Coca-Cola Classic. We're up to round 6 of the women's tournament. It brings together two Queenslanders, Jo Ellen Day from the Gold Coast and Bev Jamieson from Queensland. Steve Mackey, what's your selection?
I think Jo Ellen Day, she got up fortunately in that last game, but isn't it amazing the two women have choked in the 10th frame to lose their games.
What about Bev Jamieson's chances?
She's bowling quite well in practice, so I don't know much about Bev. She's been around the traps for quite a while. She could pull out some surprises, but I think Jo Ellen Day would be the favourite.
Jo Ellen Day is 21 years of age. She comes from the Gold Coast. She has a highest game of 275, and she finished second this year in the South Pacific Classic. She represented Australia for 3 years in the youth team, and she's represented once in the senior team and was a member of this year's Queensland state team. Bev Jamieson from Brisbane is a control assistant at the Milton Bowl. She has a highest game of 278. In 1982, she was the Brisbane Area Masters champion. She's been a member of the Queensland state team in 1977, 78, and again in 82 and 85, and was a Queensland representative for the South Pacific for the last 6 years.
Here we are again, another match of Queenslanders with Jo Ellen Day, the surprise winner against Joan Lepp, and her opponent is Bev Jamieson. Jo Ellen Day opening up the game at the request of Jamieson on lane 11.
And opens in great form. A strike to open proceedings, so a good start for Jo Ellen Day, who started a little bit nervously in her last game against Joan Lepp.
Bev Jamieson, the first time we've seen her in the program and the first time she's bowled on television. That's a pretty good opening, and our co-commentator for this match, the last opportunity for her to commentate with us, John, is Jeanette Baker-Flynn.
Thank you very much, Steve. It's nice to be able to sit this close and see who's going to fight it out and play me in the next match, so I get a bird's eye view of what to expect.
Well, Bev Jamieson, Jeanette, had the same average as you in the 12 games of qualifying, 194 apiece, and that's about your average for the year, I think.
Yes, that's my current league average, but fortunately for me, over the last month or so, my tournament average has been way above that.
Well, let's see who wins the game for the right to play Jeanette Baker-Flynn, and Bev Jamieson's opened up very confidently in that first frame there. She's bowling with, I guess, an angle bowling ball there.
Yes, she's using a black angle, something that won't overreact for her, so the lane conditions won't make too much of difference. Bev is a pretty honest bowler. She'll try and stay around the headpin as much as possible and keep herself clean.
Clean meaning that she'll get all strikes and spares in every frame. Well, let's see if she can get a strike or a spare in the second frame. It'll be a spare if it's anything.
Bev's ball doesn't overreact. It just goes around the head pin with a little bit of angle from the foul line. She releases the ball fairly early, so she gets a nice even roll on it by the time it hits the head pin. Consequently, she tends to break up a lot of splits that perhaps other bowlers may leave.
Moving way left on the approach. In fact, way left with the 6-pin in the spare. But it's worked for her, and that's a spare in the second frame. And well, I chose Jo Ellen Day in this match. John, who do you pick?
Well, I suppose you would have to go for Jo Ellen Day, but I think the tipsters have had a pretty rough time over the last couple of women's matches. There's been some upset results, and they've gone right down to the wire, literally.
Absolutely down to the wire. The women in the part of the tournament for them at the present time averaging 193.9 for 10 games, so they're hitting a pretty good pace. In fact, that's considerably higher than last year. I think the average last year was 178 or 179, so we've got a much better quality field this time. It's a larger field, of course, and with the invited interstate bowlers, we had 5 states start the tournament out, and all but Jeanette Baker-Flynn eliminated.
And even though the home state Queensland is strongly represented, I think you'd agree, Steve, that there's been a dramatic rise in the standard of the local bowlers, and that's come about because of a lot of hard work.
Yes, a lot of hard work, and particularly the QLC, the Queensland Ladies Tournament Circuit. They bowl monthly tournaments. They're getting roll-ups in a scratch event of between 55 and 80-odd bowlers each month around southeast Queensland, and that's an enormous rollout of top-class women, and of course that's improved their standards somewhat. And here's one of the good products of the QLC, Jo Ellen Day.
Led by 2 after the first frame.
Yes, I think Jo Ellen's going to just try and play fairly safe at the opening of the game until she feels that she can throw the ball with some sort of authority and roll it down there and attack in the latter half of the game. She started, you know, with a nice strike, a spare. She's looking at, for her, a simple spare, and then I think she'll start attacking halfway through.
And the spare she gets.
Yeah, she certainly seems to have that game plan based on her performance against Joan Lepp. She had 6 strikes in that game, and 5 of them came in the latter half of the game. So Jo Ellen Day, a much improved bowler, as we said before, in the last 18 months or so. And as we've seen with all the bowlers, they don't watch the opposition throw the ball.
And that's a
past a pin by a hair's breadth.
Yes, we certainly have, and they've proved very costly in the last 2 games. I wonder, is that going to prove costly for Jo Ellen in this one? Bev Jamieson will certainly be trying to make sure it is. Moves herself just 2 to pick up the spare.
Yes, and that ball breaking those pins up, it could have been anything there, but she's safely left those 2 in the corner. 76 plays 77 in the 4th frame, but of course Jo Ellen Day missed that very easy 3-pin in her 5th frame, and Jamieson will take the lead if she gets this spare. Bev Jamieson works in Milton Bowling Centre, one of the centres up here in Brisbane. Of course, gets to see a lot of bowling, but doesn't get necessarily to bowl all that often.
Yes, we see Bev quite often at the tournaments that we have down in Sydney, and she has been a pretty tough competitor over the last couple of years, never quite succeeding in winning tournaments, but is always a force to be reckoned with. She's a real fighter and doesn't give up until the absolute last shot.
Well, that's the same philosophy that Jo Ellen Day employs. Let's see if she can come through with a strike in the 6th frame.
That one's out deep. It's gone, Brooklyn. She's got a little bit of mix, but again, the 3-pin spare.
Yes, Goldpin Bowling Centres up here in Brisbane have done a marvellous job promoting the Coca-Cola Classic and increased sponsorship this year from Coca-Cola. Qantas have come on deck, I might say, or on board perhaps, with 2 trips to America for the male and female champion to bowl in $1 million prize money tournament. Of course, Australian Airlines flew all of our interstate contestants to Logan City.
And the spare safely picked up by Bev Jamieson.
Again, notice it was on the inside of the pin. It wasn't a real confident shot, but still, again, a successful spare. Jo Ellen now is in the position where she needs to double.
It looks pretty good. Excellent.
Yes.
It really is.
That's one good shot to have up the belt. One more now, and this game's nowhere near over. Nice, easy swing. Gets down very low at the foul line. Perhaps I'd like to see the knee bent, but the shoulder's not quite so far forward. But that is the limitation with a very short first step. But still, nice, fluent swing. Good release, and is a very strong bowler.
Jo Ellen Day trailed by 9 pins at the end of the 5th frame.
And there's the double she needs. That gets her back into contention, evens up the match a little bit more. Now let's see what happens to Bev. The pressure's back on her. If she can start stringing from here on in, we could have one hell of a high-scoring game here.
Yes, that's for sure. And Bev Jamieson up for 2 frames now, hoping that she'll do the same thing as Joellen Day.
It's down earlier. And there it is. There's one in a row. Maybe Brooklyn, but she knew what her percentages were. Rolled over, got the ball down early. Nice and low, follows through, rolled it over. Like she was in previous matches. And a lucky break for Joellen Day, converting the spare.
Yes, trust and confidence play an enormous role in this sport, and let's have a look at... I bet there wasn't any trust or confidence in that spare. But the 6-pin just hit the 10 and off it goes. Well, we're back with Bev Jamieson. She's going to finish the game now and can well shut the gate with a few strikes. Let's see how the first one goes.
Looks good, and it certainly is.
Excellent.
Bev is very, very pleased with that shot. She's happy with the way she released it. She felt it was going to be a strike, and down it goes. Nice roll into the pocket, solid, and everything goes over.
Well, that's given her a 5-pin lead now in the 8th frame, and as I said, she can shut the gate if she strikes out here. This is her 10th frame coming up, and she can give us a 215 game. The best Joellen Day can bowl at the present time is 200. The winner of this game goes on, as we said, to play Jeanette Baker-Flynn of Victoria in our next women's match.
Again, pushing that ball just a little bit high, trying to make too sure of it in the pocket, and has left the 4-7. Not a hard split for Bev, but just that fraction high, too far onto the head pin. The pins dispersed rather not exactly as they should, and we're left with the 4-7.
Well, a little easier this time than last time. She hasn't moved either of them.
Yeah, and they look nice and cosy standing side by side this time.
It's nice and cosy, 12 inches between those two pins. Well, that's made Joellen Day get a double to win the game. She did it last time. She had a double and 7 in the 10th frame against Joan Lepp. She's going to have to do the same sort of thing again to win this match.
Bev checking the scores out there, realising what the situation is, and I think she'll be going for broke on this last shot, trying to get a strike, really to intimidate Joellen and saying, well, I dare you to get up and beat that one.
And Joellen Day doesn't want to know about anything.
And there's a nice shot to finish on.
Well, another clean game, as Jeanette said. She did have a clean game, all strikes and spares. That's a nice one, 195. But will it be enough? We'll soon know. Joellen Day needs the first 2 strikes.
Well, there's one. The hardest one is always the first one.
Yes, it certainly is, because if you don't get that, of course, you're out of business. And what a great ball this is under pressure. John McCoy.
It most certainly is, and the pressure now really on Joellen as to whether or not she can reproduce this.
Taking plenty of time. She's psyching herself up for another big effort, but the second one should be just that fraction easier.
And there's Bev, not wanting to look.
She'll look now.
And there it is. That's coming through when the going gets tough.
What a performance under pressure this girl's put up. 2 times in a row now, getting strikes as required in the 10th frame. That's a fantastic performance. And Joellen Day taking a deep gulp that time. But it's not over yet. She's got to stay behind the foul line. She needs 6 or more to win the match.
And we've seen the last 2 games finish sensationally when we thought it was a foregone conclusion. So Bev Jamieson is still in the hunt at the moment.
Oh, boy. 197 to 195. 2 pins the difference in this fantastic women's match, and that's the winning shot for Joellen Day. 197 to 195.
Winning 197 to 195 over Bev Jamieson. Bev, you were in front, but just weren't able to hold that lead long enough.
Just bad luck, that's all it is. That's the way the game goes.
Bev, thanks for being with us, and there's your cheque for finishing in 5th place, and congratulations.
Thanks very much.
Well, Joe Allen, a great performance under pressure. You must be pleased with it.
Yes, I was pleased. Bev was unlucky.
What were you thinking at the end when you knew you needed those couple of strikes?
I just hoped they all fell over.
What was your plan of attack? Did you have anything in mind in particular? Where were you aiming for?
Just my arrow. Just had to get over the arrow.
Well, a tough game coming up next against Jeanette Baker-Flynn, but I'm sure your confidence must be up after those last 2 victories.
I'll just do my best.
Good on you. And that'll be a great game. Well done, Joe Allen.
Thank you.
Well, you'll be seeing that match between Joe Allen Day and Jeanette Baker-Flynn coming up shortly in our Coca-Cola Classic. But in fact, the next game we have for you is going to be the 9th round of the men's competition, and that'll be a top match. Look forward to having your company once again for more of the Coca-Cola Classic from the Logan City Lanes here in Brisbane.